Thank you, Stella. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Great. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BACP Empower Hour. I'm Ken Meyer, Commissioner for the Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. Our goal is to help businesses and consumers get the information they need to succeed by sharing advice and stories from Chicago's entrepreneurs. In a city known for pizza, and there's always the debate, deep dish or thin, we are also brewing its best companion, beer. Chicago has some of the best breweries and tap rooms in the country. In a market where you need to have a unique selling proposition, our guests today have tapped into their heritage to create beer with Latin ingredients. Joining us today are Jose Lopez and Javier Lopez, founders of Casa Humilde Cerveceria. Did I say that okay, gents?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Jose and Javier, and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for the invite.
You're very welcome. Before we talk business, tell our attendees a little bit about yourself. I don't know if you guys are going to alternate or someone's going to take the lead, but I'll let that up to you.
Yeah. So, well, about ourselves, not rear, just personally, or not the
Yeah,
business.
tell us, I guess, tell us a little bit about yourselves personally, and I guess how that led into getting into beer.
Yeah, of course. So, I think in the beer, we got started in 2015, brewing at home, like a lot of breweries do. So before that, I worked at a lot of food service companies, like a lot of meats, fish, cheeses, oils, all that stuff. But I also had a band here in Chicago for about 10 years, Mexican music. So I did that for about 10 years. Had a small recording studio. Then I was kind of done with music for a little bit, was looking for something to do, and it was going to be culinary school, but then we're like, we drink a good amount of craft beer. So that's when I told my brother Javier, I'm like, hey, we can make beer at home. And we just went down that rabbit hole, and here we are today. Yeah.
How many years have you been making beer?
So,
2015.
So 7 years now.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. And what was the inspiration behind starting Casa Humilde Cerveceria? Did I do it okay?
Yes.
Yep.
You guys say it, because I feel like for our listeners today, I don't want to botch it up. So tell us the name of the brewery, please.
So Casa Humilde Cerveceria.
Well, you say it better than I do.
Yeah.
So what was your inspiration behind starting a brewery, which I think is really, really cool?
I think one of the inspirations was I was in the trades, and I guess I drank a lot of craft beer on the weekends. Visited visit a couple of breweries, and as I got more into it and started bringing stuff home, having bottle shares, my brother started getting into it as well. He would stop by the house and raid the fridge, some new stuff that I would get. But as I visit all these breweries, I also noticed a big gap. There was no one really that looked like me or us, or it was no minorities in general. So, and being that we love being creative, we always wanted to have our own business. We saw this as a good opportunity to learn more about beer and look at the possibility of starting a brewery. And once we started looking into it, we're like, we could get a little stovetop kit, $500, do it on the stove. The more research we did about what it takes to operate a brewery, like what equipment and the process, the more we realized that it's a lot more complicated than that. If we really wanted to have a shot at actually owning a brewery one day and brewing commercially, we needed a lot more sophisticated equipment. So $500 turned into $30,000 in our home.
Yeah.
So, we literally had a tiny brewery at home.
Yeah.
With temperature control and everything else you will see in a big brewery, just on a way smaller scale.
Yeah, so it was those same tanks, giant stainless steel tanks you see at a brewery, just maybe 4 feet tall instead of 10 and 20 and 30 feet tall. And we joke around that we had the fanciest brewery because it was in our living room, so it had hardwood floors, and sometimes we would have spills, but those were some sturdy floors. Yeah.
So are you guys Googling like how to open up a brewery or how to brew beer? Or are you like
Yeah, a lot of Googling, a lot of books, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of podcasts. We joined a homebrew club that was based out of Logan Square. So
Asking brewery owners,
yeah,
for advice and how to go about it
yeah.
and their struggles and
And to this day, we still do that. We
yeah.
still read a lot. We still talk to other brewers, other brewery owners for business advice, for everything. The way we see it, we never stop learning. There's always something to learn, or we can always improve on what we're doing.
And are you guys pretty much even 50-50, or is someone more like the taster and let's try these ingredients, and someone's like, okay, how do we start spending $500 and we got to 30,000? Kind of like on the financial end.
Yeah, so it's kind of like our roles. We come up with ideas for the beers together. Javi takes the lead on the production, the recipe development, the scaling up from test batches to 7 barrel, 30 barrel, 60, 90 barrel big batches. And I handle more of the marketing, the branding, and the sales of it. Yeah.
In the checkbook.
And it's yeah, that's I have the processing all the checks, all yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
All right, so now you're in your home, you're coming up with your new brews. How did you decide to then leave the home and kind of get into a brewery? And what's the significance behind the name?
So I think so while we were 2 years into homebrewing, so in 2017, some friends of ours own a brewery in Oak Park, and they had the same equipment we have at home on a bigger scale. I think it was maybe 10 times bigger, right?
Yeah.
So we purchased it from them back then. I think it was something like 60 grand. And we just kept it in storage for 2 years. But during those 2 years, we were looking for a space, a building, and it was just tough to find something that made sense for us for what we wanted. So it got to the point where like, well, we're paying storage on this. I think we were paying like 500 a month, right?
Yeah.
So we're like, it's not. we got to stop paying so much. So we're looking for somewhere. Maybe we reached out to an existing brewery that had a space on the south side where maybe we can set up our equipment and brew out of there, kind of an alternating setup. But when we came across them, they had a project going already which is where we're based out of. It's called District Brew Yards. So it's four breweries and kind of in one building. We share a tap room. And that's kind of how we ended up there. That was in 2019. Yeah, so 4 years after we started homebrewing. Yeah, November of 2019. So then we kind of launched right into the pandemic.
Yeah. And what were you able to do during the pandemic?
You know what? We were excited for spring to come around because we had a successful launch and we already had a following from 4 years of just a lot of friends that kind of became guinea pigs, drinking beers in our backyard, our barbecue. Friends will host like some music shows and stuff. So we would always take some beer and people would try it. And then I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was the question again?
Just how you kind of survived through the pandemic. You're talking right.
Yeah, so we started with a lot of accounts draft kegs, but everything shut down, so we had to pivot and can everything. So there was no more filling kegs. We had kegs filled with beer already, so we even had to can some package from kegs as well, which is not the most ideal thing to do.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I was like, we had so much loss. It was like 60-70% loss. And at some point we just had to dump a lot of stuff. And
but it was that loss, or that 30% can still be packaged, and we sell cases out of the brewery. We still sold to our accounts like Benny's, a lot of grocery stores like Cermak Fresh Market, stores like that, local liquor stores. So everything just turned into pushing cases out of their packaged beer.
Yeah. Would you say was a pandemic the most unique of your struggles, or were there some other kind of difficult paths along your entrepreneurial journey?
I would say the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, being new business owners and that kind of launching into that, it was hard to say what was normal for us as far as like daily operations and stuff. We had to pivot real fast. Yeah.
Well, brewing hundreds of barrels of craft Mexican-inspired beer is not an easy feat. What are some of the business practices that have made your business a success?
I think for us is really understanding our numbers, our costs. Like we've come across a lot of breweries, a lot of brewers that some understand their numbers like to a penny. So we kind of rely on people like that to help us kind of get there. And then we've come across some brewery owners that don't understand that they were overpaying so much. Something as simple as
A label.
labels. You get a discount when you buy in bulk. We would always, our label orders were at least 10,000 labels, so we would get the best price. But then we would come across some brewery owners and friends are like, they're ordering 500 labels at a time, so they're paying like 6-7 times more per label. We're like, why? At the end of the day, that adds up. There's understanding those numbers and those costs, and we're still improving on it. We're learning every day. It's not something you learn overnight or in a year or two. You're
Yeah.
always learning that. Yeah.
And how were you able to get your product into online retailers and brick and mortar retailers? Tell us a little bit about that process.
Yeah,
And
I think
how
our
far along were you?
our brick and mortar, how restaurants, bars, grocery stores, it's just a matter of knocking on doors. Like a typical sales day would be just, you pick accounts you want to visit. We're lucky where we get leads. A lot of people go on the website and do a beer inquiry. They're interested in our beer. So we got a lot of accounts like that, but it's just stopping by. Hey, how's it going? I'm Jose from Casa Humilde. Is your either beverage director or bar manager around, or how can we set up a tasting? How can we show you our product? It's a lot of that in person, a lot of emails, honestly, even some through Instagram. We might come across an account that might work and we see they're active and we reach out or we get their info from there. So it's just a lot of cold calling, cold visits, and just taking our product. And if they allow us to leave samples, we leave them. And we've been lucky where we're probably in over 150 different accounts. Some of the coolest restaurants in Chicago, like Suco, downtown, the Mito Kaya in Logan Square, La Josie, right there in the Fulton Market.
Like a Bar Mar, Jose Andres' place on Wacker. It's a very nice place.
Yeah, so
very cool being.
And a lot of cool neighborhood spots, a lot of cool neighborhood liquor stores, grocery stores. So we're a little bit all over in the city. We're like suburbs has been growing a lot for us as well. So it's just a lot of knocking on doors.
Yeah, when I was looking at the website recently.
Yeah.
So you have the location obviously here in the city. What's the difference, and what are you guys doing in Wheeling?
So Wheeling, it's a similar concept. The district brew yards is just over there, instead of 4 breweries like in the city, it's 5 breweries over there. 5 breweries, a barbecue concept, taqueria concept, and a chicken concept, I believe. Yeah.
Same Chicago folks out in Wheeling, or
yeah. I think there's only one different brewery that's out there, the 5th one. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Your brewery is, I believe, the only Mexican American owned and operating brewery in Chicago. And I understand you employ an all Mexican American staff. I hope that's correct.
Almost. We're all
we're about Latino, I guess.
All Latino, all Mexican except for our driver Manny. He's Guatemalan. Yeah. Yes, but pretty close.
Is that by design, coincidence? How did that happen?
It's not by design. I think it just happened, turned out that way. When we interview people for certain roles, certain positions, I think we just look for people that kind of get the vision.
Yep.
That get the vision, share a similar work ethic. We've been lucky with the team we have where we all wear many hats. It can be our social media manager or our salespeople can come into the office if the dishes need washed or we need sweeping, or everyone's does it. If we need a keg delivered or some help with that, everyone's there to help. We don't have any of it's not by job or any of that. So we all wear many hats, and it's kind of a very much a team effort. Yeah.
That's good to hear. Yeah. So when you two were just the two of you, what was that third position? You're like, oh my gosh, we have to hire someone to do what was that position?
a driver,
Right,
you know,
okay,
deliveries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that
Interesting.
definitely help just free us up to network a little more, go out and do more sales, or we'll focus a little bit more on new recipes and stuff like that.
Yeah, because when we started, so I left my full-time job in the beginning. So I was doing sales and deliveries. I think maybe a few months in, Javier then left his job and he was doing deliveries and some sales. And it just got to a point where like, okay, we need a truck and we need a driver, you know, but it was a while until we got a truck, maybe, oh man, about a year, maybe.
About a year in.
Yeah.
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 Wow. Is your logo on the truck?
It is not,
No,
not yet.
not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. Yeah. Because at that point we had a small transit, one of the little guys, and then
Yeah.
now we have a bigger transit. So we are hoping next year to be able to wrap it.
Yeah, we got some of those quotes.
Yeah.
Definitely not cheap to wrap the
They're
truck.
not cheap.
You know?
You know, so it's one of those things where is it a priority? Like yeah, it's cool for advertisement and our when we're delivering our beers, but for now it's yeah, it's not something we can shell out 3,500 to do it right now, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit how you guys sought out your capital and to start your business. What was the most difficult part of that process? And then just talk a little to our audience a little bit today, just about, you know, the day-to-day financial operations and kind of how you keep your pulse on that so that you continue to be profitable, make money. But at the same time, it sounds like you also want to keep expanding, growing, venturing, perhaps wrapping the truck, and how you kind of make that, you know, what's the next thing to do financially?
Yeah, for us in the beginning, we started with a loan from some family friend, and I think 2 years in we were able to pay that back and kind of clear that out, and then everything has just been
just all personal.
Yeah. We haven't taken out any big loans or anything. We have a small line of credit that we use when necessary, but it's all been just kind of what we have, what we've been able to save a little, and personal money. Yeah.
That's kind of it's scary, but it's like if it's something you believe in personally, like it's just
Put all your chips in.
yeah, like your
Yeah.
retirement, and I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like tapping into your retirement
Yeah.
just to make some stuff work.
You might have some people, some business people be like, you shouldn't do that, but at the end of the day, you kind of have to get something going and do it as best as you can, you know, depending on the current situation. Like currently now, our goal is to hopefully in about a year, hopefully either start the process or be close to being in our own space, where the space is our own, the branding of the building inside, the decor, it's all based on our brand, you know. And now that's a little scary too, because we look at numbers, we look at quotes, and some of these projects that we look at or consider, they're in the millions.
Yeah.
You know, all the equipment, everything, that's a lot of capital is needed for that. So now it's kind of where we're looking like, what can we do on our own? If we want to do a bigger project, do we need to bring on investment? And if we bring on investment, do we want to bring on investment? You know, do we want to give up certain ownership of our company? So that's kind of the boat we're on right now. Yeah.
And I assume your typical day is not 9 to 5.
No.
What is our typical day? And then how do you guys, are you guys with each other all day long? Or you kind of divide and conquer, start off with a morning call?
It's a little divide and conquer. Yeah. So for me, I start my day about 5, 6 in the morning, get on my laptop, get the routing going, see if any orders came in overnight, see what we have to do, get all that going. A lot of emails, a lot of I handle a lot of the branding. So sometimes I'll be up to my neck with new label designs, with setting up different marketing materials for tastings, for festivals, just stay busy. And honestly, throughout the day, lately we've been doing a lot of cool interviews. So that a lot of emails that come in, orders that come in, follows with customers, sales calls on top of that, keeping up with some of our accounts, because we have 2 salespeople out there, but we still have our accounts as well that we maintain. So it's keeping up with that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And my day usually starts, Jose will send over the routes to the driver and I, depending on how heavy the day is, meet him at the brewery, either start picking everything for him or helping him out to get out on the road at a decent time. After that, just checking in on beer that needs to be packaged or checking in on tanks, just make sure fermentation is going properly. After that, probably come back to the office, maybe work on some beer recipes or administrative or coffee, because we also started a coffee company about a year and a half ago.
Oh, wow.
So we're bringing in coffee from Mexico and roasting it here, roasting it to order. So handling that side too as well.
Yeah. So we're not
And
only trying to sell beer, we're out there trying to sell coffee as well. Yeah.
I was just going to ask, is there a little bit of coffee in any of your beer flavors?
There is one of our popular ones that's coming back in this fall. It's called Cafecito. So it's a coffee porter. It's a 5.2% nice light dark beer with the coffee we roast. So we use that and that. That's been a favorite. That comes back every fall. And I think we might do a stout. We were talking about with coffee. So a little bit heavier, 8, 9, 10% maybe with some coffee in it as well. Yeah.
How many different flavors of beer do you produce? And does that fluctuate?
It does fluctuate a little bit. At any given time, we have anywhere between 8 and 12, depending on the seasonals. And so far, we've done over 40. I would say we're probably up to like 45 or so.
Yeah, different
beers that we put out.
Yeah.
But on average, about 8 to 12.
Yeah,
in the market.
and that'll be maybe 6 or 7 of them are kind of year round.
Yeah.
So we always make them, and then the other ones rotate. Yeah.
You probably, like everyone, it probably have a bestseller you'll just never take off the menu because
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, we've talked about maybe taking off some beers, but you know, some beers just take off and do well, and some restaurants and bars will put it on the menu, and we're like, well, we got to keep making it. You know, so it's probably 6 or 7 that we always have. That. Yeah.
And what makes your product stand out from the competition? There is a lot of competition right now.
There is a lot of competition.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just the uniqueness, you know, for our brand, we kind of want our culture to be very present. So we do that in the flavors, the ingredients we add to certain beers. We'll have like our Viva la Frida, it's our hibiscus and lime lager. You know, hibiscus and lime are both very popular in our culture. Our #1 beer, Maizal, we do with a bit of corn. You know, maize is very big in our culture. Another one that does very well for us is our media naranja, you know, which means your other half. So, you know, people connect to it. You know, the label art, it's 2 half oranges kind of holding hands, you know, and that was my wedding beer in 2020. So we brewed it for that, and it just has done well ever since. That's been our #2 beer, sometimes #1. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think another big thing is it's just the events we do. You know, we have a lot of, like I said, Jose said it, he was in a band, so we have a lot of bands at the brewery. You know, we have a lot of events with music.
Yeah.
So we always want to bring that together, tie everything together with our culture, music, food,
Yeah.
beer, coffee, a little bit of everything.
That's great. So social media is constantly changing, and it's always a critical piece of the business operations and business planning in today's world. Can you explain your original marketing strategy and how that strategy may have changed with social media? And I guess also, how does social media play up in terms of sales and deliveries and all that type of stuff?
Yeah, so initially, I was handling the social media, and my wife Denise would help me, but that became too much to handle real fast, you know, because I would post once, you know, every 2 days, and then it got to a point where I would try and set up a picture. That takes a little time. I would try and post, and it got to a point where I'm posting every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks. You know, we're like, oh, we haven't posted anything or kept up with putting our events out there. So I think probably year right around the beginning of year 2, we decided to bring someone on full time. We did have someone help us in the beginning, and that helped. But then it got to a point where we're like, well, we can't afford it anymore to pay someone. And then I took over, and then it got to a point, well, it's too much time to do this, you know. And then around year 1, we brought someone on that's still with us today. Chewy, he's our social media manager, handles our videos, our pictures, our posts, all that fun stuff. And it's very important. Like we talk to a lot of businesses of all sorts, and a lot of them don't think that it's important to hire the right person or hire someone that's going to do quality content, but it's important. Like if you're not on Instagram, for us, Instagram does better than Facebook. But if we're not on there, if we're not constantly posting stuff or just posting our events, people do, I don't want to say they forget, because they visit our spot, they buy our beer in the stores and the restaurants, but to promote events, to promote new products and kind of keep your brand relevant, we feel it's very important to invest in that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think I was going to just, any advice for folks listening that may not even be in the brewery business, but I guess anyone who's curious, what kind of associations or nonprofits or local chambers do you guys partner with that kind of helped you move along, promote yourselves, kind of get to a bigger, more expansive sales?
Yeah.
I think we do a lot of community stuff. We partner a lot with the Museum of Mexican Art in Pilsen. We did a beer with them for the Frida exhibit, Hispanic Business Network. Yeah, we try and either do tastings, go to events, and it's very important to network, you know, because you never know who you're gonna meet, especially if it's something as simple as doing a tasting somewhere, you know, so like you're there for a couple hours, you know, you give samples out and networking events. Yeah, it's been very helpful. You might not see the results now, but you can see them 6 months, a year, or 2 years on the road.
Oh, it's funny. A lot we do, like Javi said, a lot of the events at the museum in Pilsen, and a year and a half later, we're like, oh yeah, I manage this bar now. I had your Frida beer there. I want to bring it on draft. You know, like you had it a year and a half ago, and you still remember. You know, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
That's great. So September 15th through October 15th is Hispanic Heritage Month. Can you tell us what some of your how you guys are celebrating with Mexican Americans, and tell us a little bit about your own personal journey and what your team is doing. What are you guys brewing for the month?
You know what? We're not making like a special beer for it just because we don't have the time or in our production schedule.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where our summer's been very busy, where a lot of our budget has kind of gone towards a lot of festivals, a lot of tastings, you know, all that manpower has gone there. Like we do our own festivals. We did our Casa Humilde Fest last year, and then did our second annual one this year in July, where we had about 1,200 people. We had a full day of music, of games, of food, of beer. And we got to around this time, we're looking at our budget and we're like, you know, it's just not, it just doesn't make sense for us to put so much money, especially with our anniversary coming up. This year, I think we're doing it on October 28th. So it's going to be our 4-year anniversary. So it's like either we do put it at that, then we can't do something for anniversary. So for us, I think it's more important to do it for our anniversary, which still it ties into it, because for all our events, we love to bring in Mexican music. We love to bring in like a mariachi or a baile folklorico and have all that special menu, bring in guest chefs for that. So it's still a very big culture party for sure.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm wondering, when you're going to do a seasonal brew, a seasonal flavor, how much time do you need? Like, so obviously you have to, you know, come up with ingredients, taste it, test it, and then actually go to production. And then how long do you really need for it to be in production for it to really make money, make profit, and make it worth your time?
It depends. It could take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. If it's like a completely new recipe, you know, we might do a test batch, tweak some stuff. If it's a similar style that we've done already, we're quite comfortable with, like 2 months by the time we submit and produce and package, about 2 months or so.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't want to say it's a gamble, but it's also like we can put a beer out there and we might love it or we might really enjoy it. We're like, oh, I think it's going to do well. And then a month later, we will sell through it, but we didn't think it didn't do as well as we thought it would. So then we're like, well, is it worth doing again? You know, some beers kind of take time. We might do 2, 3, 4 batches, and small batches, maybe 70 cases, a pallet of beer at a time. It's the smallest batch we can do. And some of those beers can end up doing 300 cases at a time, you know, in 3 or 4 or 5 months. You know, some it's hard to kind of guess and know which one's gonna do great. We have an idea, but sometimes it's just like, oh, we love this beer, and oh man, it didn't do that great. You know, it's we sold through it, but we wish it would have sold better.
You've all of us being in Chicago, do you find that beer lovers tend to go maybe a little bit more heavy beer in the colder months, you know, the holiday season, winter, and then something a little bit lighter, maybe in taste or flavor?
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. In the winter months, they'll do, come fall, winter, you got your porters, your darker beers, your Oktoberfest, a little bit more maltier, and then your stouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dark lagers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and stouts can range anywhere from 8% to 12, 14, 15, 16% beers. You know, and a lot of these pastry stouts are still kind of popular, where a lot of brewers will do some with maple syrup, some with chocolate, vanilla. Like for us, we do one called horchata. That's it's an horchata inspired stout. So we do the whole process of the roasting of the almonds, of the rice, all that, the cinnamon, yeah, all that fun stuff. And it's an 8% stout, but it's very, very delicious. It's done very well for us. So we're excited for that one to come back this year.
Wow. Well, you're making me thirsty. Unfortunately, it's only
Yeah.
2:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you again for sharing your business journey with our attendees. Let me just transition to a couple fun, lighter questions.
Okay.
So what is your favorite type of beer? I'll let you answer that.
For me, it's more of like a pale ale, kind of like our Media Naranja, where it's not quite an IPA, where it's like so bitter. It's just like a light bitterness, light and crisp body, maybe a little citrus forward. That's kind of my go-to beer. And if not that, more on the craft side, just a nice, simple, clean lager for me. Yeah.
For me, as I got older, definitely lighter alcohol, like table beers or something like 3.5%, or just some lager, you know, there's super clean lagers, 4.5%, 5%, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
More like German style for sure.
Yeah. We don't drink as much beer as a lot of people think we would. You know, as being in the beer industry, I mean, we make it all the time, but I think nowadays we just kind of drink for quality control. And if anything out there is a brewery releases something that sounds interesting,
Events,
be like, oh
that.
yeah, you know, we like to try a little bit, but yeah, we don't drink as much beer as people think we do. Yeah.
And probably just do just a little bit of tasting too, which
Yes.
is
Yeah, a lot of that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that adds up. When you're at a beer festival, that adds up. Yeah. Oh yeah.
true. Okay, so when you're not at a beer festival, you're not messing around with a new beer flavor. What do you guys do when you're not running the business to relax?
Spend time with the family for me. My wife and I, we have a 10-month-old, so we try to spend as much time as we can with him, with her parents, my parents, spend time together. And just try and get out, you know, little by little, I'm kind of inching back into some music projects. So that's more of a little bit of a passion, but also a little bit of business, because we tie in our brand with music here in the city a lot. So it helps spread the word of our brand as well. Yeah.
That's great.
For me, I listen to music. I have a good friend that I usually we try to at least a couple times a month, or once, 2-3 times a month. I go have a cigar, just relax. That's when maybe I have some whiskey or some scotch, and so I don't do it as often as I would like to, but definitely.
Yeah.
Sure.
Same type of story I hear the more and more I talk to small business owners, no matter what the industry is. It really, if you want to be successful, and you know, it's a life of in and of itself.
You're always working. Like even when we've had the opportunities to go on vacation for a week or two or something, half of that time you're working. You know, like for me specifically, if I go to Mexico with my wife, from 6 a.m. to about 10 a.m. I'm working, and then I'll sneak out from 2 to 4 to catch up, and then at night before bed catch up on emails or on orders. It's it doesn't go away. Yeah.
As this webinar is titled Empower Hour, please share a piece of advice that can empower our attendees.
I would say, like, one of the main things for us is I'll try and find a mentor, people you trust that kind of know what they're doing. You know, it's I know sometimes for people, it's hard to ask for advice or for help. You know, for us, it was a little bit at first as well. But then we're like, no, I just straight up don't know how to do this, or this doesn't make sense. So always ask someone who's done it, who's been through it, you know, and can help you improve on a lot of things. Like we said, like the numbers, like spending, like even beer, you know, like we're thinking of a beer. Javi might ask some of our beer friends, hey, have you ever worked with this? What do you recommend? You know, I think just find someone. Don't be afraid to ask questions and ask for help. Yeah.
Javi, anything from you?
Yeah, like Jose said, find someone you look up to. Like even here, we have a R&D space here at ICNC on Kinsey.
Yeah.
On Fulton, they have a lot of resources as well, so that's been very helpful. You know, whether it's business planning or marketing, they have a lot of programs. The city has a lot of programs that you can look up. So for sure, you know, do your research. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of organizations. I know we've worked with oh, it used to be Acción. I still call it Acción, but what's it called now?
Community
For a better business, I think, or something like that.
so.
Yeah, they're out of the hatchery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with them, we've done some business
Allies.
planning.
I think you're talking about now they're called allies.
Yeah,
Allies for
yes.
community. Yes,
Yep.
thank
Yeah.
you. Yes, yeah. I still always call them Acción, but we've worked with them for business planning and a lot of stuff with them. Even at some point through like financing, we were trying to get a loan, and they helped us as well. So yeah, we worked. Yeah, there's a lot of organizations out there that offer help. Yeah, and yeah, so it's just seeking them. You know, there's help out there. So don't be afraid to ask.
Just go out and network, meet people.
Oh, for sure.
You know.
Events where you might you know, let's say you own a restaurant. There's plenty of events for restaurant people. For us, for breweries, we joined we're part of the Illinois Brewers Guild. You know, so they have quarterly meetings as well. They have an email thread if someone's looking for
specific ingredients or
you know, or advice, even, you know, from anything from a POS system to has anyone worked with this ingredient, or, you know, has anyone ever filed for this city of Chicago license or anything like that. That's a big community. So definitely kind of those forums or those organizations that are kind of tied to your business. Yeah.
Have you guys participated in the Friday night flights?
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We just did the one in Taste of Chicago. We were part of that one. Before that, and we've done the one at Wrigley a few times as well. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, as we're winding down, can you share just for the audience one more time, provide us your website, your handle, your social media handle, and then of course we'll go first with your Chicago location.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. So you can find Casa Humilde Chicago.com. Pretty much find all our info on there. It goes to our link tree, so go to our website, all our social media handles. We always try and keep it updated with any event that's coming up for us as well. Yeah.
The coffee.
Yeah.
The address for the Chicago location is 417 off Ashland, on the corner of Hubbard and Ashland.
Yep.
The West Loop.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you stay a little bit longer? I'll see if we have some questions from the
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah.
Stella?
We have 3 questions. First question, have you guys ever participated in any beer festivals or any other special events here in the city?
Yeah.
We do quite a bit. It's hard to keep track. I know we have one coming up tomorrow for cystic fibrosis festival up north. We'll be a part of that.
We're part of Gourmet Chicago as well, one of their events. Chicago Gourmet, Prost in the Park next Sunday, I believe. We'll be there as well. We participated in 2 of their events last year as well.
It's a pretty cool event at
Yeah.
the Union Station, the beer festival. It happens every year.
Yep.
So that's
Yeah. And throughout the city, yeah, I would say at least 10 different beer fests this year in the city, and a lot all over the burbs as well. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the best ways to get our beer out there. You know, or if we have a new beer, people might know our beer already, but if we have a new beer we want to promote, you know, get it out there in front of people. There's no better way than getting it out in front of 300 to 1,000 people at a time, you know. Yeah.
Okay. What have you learned about being in business with family?
Good question.
That's a good question. I know we hear a lot of stories about like family and business, and it doesn't mix. I think for us, we haven't had really any issues, you know, because I think if you're on the same wavelength and the same kind of target, the same end goal, it makes it a lot easier. You know, if we wanted to do different things each, then I think it would be tough, right?
Yeah.
You know, but we kind of share this. We share the same vision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think yeah, there's always gonna be disagreements, but at the end of the day, we always have the same mentality as what's gonna be best for the business.
Yeah.
You know, this is something we're in it together.
Yeah.
Whether we want to do something, he wants to do something, is like, does it make sense for the business, and is it gonna help us succeed, or is it gonna hold us back?
You know, and that can be anything from like I was saying, an event we're planning for the anniversary, or we do something for Hispanic Heritage Month. Like, where do we apply that? You know, there was opportunities to do an event right on September 16th that we were talking about 2 or 3 months ago, and they were like, it's going to be tough if we want to do something for the anniversary, you know, or it might be a beer where it's like he might want to use an ingredient, I might want to use something else. And we're like, well, what's going to sell more? What's going to be better for overall for the business, you know? So, all right, you know, one might win, one might lose, but at the end of the day, we know it's for the greater good. You know?
And I think one thing we did for Hispanic Heritage is my sal, a Mexican lager with corn. We did a special for the month. So to some of our accounts, you know, we offer a discount if they order a certain volume. That's been going very well too, because it also allows them to price it not lower, but it helps them move a little better, you know, helps to promote National Heritage Month, Hispanic Heritage Month. So
it helps. And for us, they might price it $1 or $2 cheaper. We'll move more people will discover the beer, you know?
Yeah. Stella?
All right, next question. Being a woman and a Latina that wants to learn and start brewing beer, what advice do you have?
I would say, depending on where you're at, find a local homebrew club. You know, it's a lot of homebrew clubs, depending on where there's some in the north side, suburbs, Chicago, and just start reading books. There's a lot of books on home brewing. YouTube is a great resource. Yeah, and start at home. That's how we started, you know, but it does take a lot of time, you know.
I mean,
prepare to clean a lot.
Yeah, so we discovered that brewing was like 80% being a janitor and 20% like the actual beer. So you have to clean, sanitize. You have to, if you're bottling or kegging, you have to make sure you don't get oxygen in the lines, otherwise you oxidize your beer. It's a lot. So a typical brew day is about 8 hours. You know, it's almost a full day from when you're kind of mashing in, starting to cook or steep the grain, to where you're boiling the grain, to you're pitching the yeast. By the end of the day, you start sanitizing and the brewing process and filling the fermenter and cleaning. You got a full day there,
and you still gotta clean even more.
So yeah, just be ready. That it's not easy, you know, and it depends. You know, if you're starting to brew at home, you can do the stovetop kits that kind of an extract a little bit easier. You just throw the extract in the water and you boil it. But if you do the full process, like all grain, that's a full day.
But the first thing is definitely find a homebrew club that's near you.
Yeah, there's homebrew clubs. Like for us, even to this day, we still participate in some of the events. Javi more than me, but he still goes to events, still keeps up with those friends, and those friends are still brewing. You know, when we started, we relied a lot on them. You know, when we started, there was breweries that would take on volunteers and stuff like that, and that practice just wasn't sustainable, and it just wasn't safe. So that kind of ended. You know, so that's not happening nowadays. But there are still a lot of brewery owners that if you hit them up, they'll take 30 minutes out of their day and kind of talk to you about the process and what they're doing, or you might go to the tap room and ask them questions. They're there. I would say 9 times out of 10, they'll sit down and chat with you for a bit. I know we do it, and I know we get people sometimes that even want to start different businesses. They might be an alcohol business, like a ready-to-drink cocktail or a michelada company. Just business advice, like how do you get your product into stores, or how did you do this? you know, because at the end of the day, we might be doing different things, but at the end of the day, we're trying to get our product to consumers.
Yeah.
You know, so the sales channels are a lot of times very similar. Yeah.
We have another question. How do you welcome customer feedback? Have customers requested for specific new flavors? And how do you create a healthy company customer relationship?
You know, we definitely welcome it. We're big on that. We here and there we'll get customers, hey, you should do a certain Mexican candy style stout or a beer or a certain fruit. And you know, we look at all of them. You know, if it's a fruit, at the end of the day, we have to kind of see if that price makes sense. There's certain fruits that we might add to beer that will just take that beer price. We would have to price it very high where we won't be able to sell it. You know, so there are restrictions, but as far as customer feedback, we appreciate it and we welcome it. You know, I think for any business, no one's perfect. You know, there's going to be some hiccups. There's going to be, maybe the customer might have a bad experience, you know, and for us, just as if we go to a restaurant and we experience something bad or they get an order wrong, there might be people that were like, oh, I don't want to be that customer. For us, we want you to be that customer. We want you to say, hey, I didn't like this beer, or I didn't like this, or the experience was bad, because that's how we're going to improve, you know. Yeah, and certain beers a customer might not like, we'll look at here and there, we'll look at reviews. Like Untapped is very big, where people go drink beer and they put their reviews, they rated certain bottle caps, I think it's out of 5, right?
Yeah.
You know, and we might get someone that'll say, I didn't like my Sal, our number one beer, but they'll say, I don't like lagers. So if you don't like lagers, you're drinking our Maizal, you know you're not gonna like it. What's the point of giving someone a bad review? You know, so you got those, but then you have some where I wish this had a little more citrus notes to it. I wish this had more bitterness, depending on the style. And those we look at. You know, at the end of the day, we have to take those serious and we consider it. And you know, some we might be like, oh, maybe we should switch this recipe up a bit. And some might be like, no, we get it, but this works for us.
Yeah.
You know?
This is what it was taste like.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't please everybody.
Yeah, that's for
You know,
sure.
so you can't go crazy trying to change something just because one person didn't like it. You know, it'll be impossible.
Yeah, our goal is for everyone to have a great experience, but like you said, yeah, we can't please everyone, but if something's off or something, we definitely like to address it and like to hear about it. Yeah.
And one last question. Can you tell me about groups, organizations, or clubs in Chicago that I could join so I can learn from?
One of the more active that comes to mind is Chaos Brew Club. They have a space on Western and Hubbard, and it's a pretty cool club because they offer a space where you can brew. So let's say you live in a studio or apartment where you can't house everything, you can actually go there and brew on site.
They,
you know,
they have everything set up for you to brew, to keg, to not can, but to a bottle, everything.
And a lot of people, you'll meet a lot of people that already been brewing for years, and you can ask for advice, how to get started. And
they do a lot of cool events too throughout the year.
They do like 3 or 4 events.
Yeah.
But Chaos is one of the ones that I think in the city that is more active for sure.
Oh yeah. And I think that the one that's kind of set up for you to go there and brew, where you don't have to have your significant other or anyone in your household to be like, when are you going to move this stuff or get all this stuff out of my kitchen or stuff like that. Yeah, makes it easier.
Okay, then we're done with questions.
Thank you, Stella. Well, thank you, Jose, and thank you, Javi. I certainly learned a lot. I think probably what I'm walking away with, 50 some minutes into this conversation is the fact that cleaning up is actually takes up more of your time and is a big piece of brewing. I think probably walking into the conversation earlier this afternoon, I would have thought maybe mixing the ingredients and kind of figuring out the best taste. So I found that just absolutely fascinating. I appreciate your honesty and openness about not only the industry itself, but just how you got started and all the financial. I just want to thank all of our attendees for joining us today for today's Empower Hour. And you can watch today's Empower Hour on your YouTube channel by visiting youtube.com/BACP Chicago BACP, and we'll have it up in just a little bit later today. And for more information on our next Empower Hour, please visit chicago.gov/business education. So until next month, again, Jose, Javi, thank you very much. Thank you, Stella,
Thank you.
Lisa, for my team for putting this on, and everyone have a terrific rest of their day.
As well.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
everyone. Have a good day.